All right, well, welcome everybody to session number 18. We are entering the domain of the 16 personality types, and we're exploring this even further. We are going to take every single one of the 16 personality types and look for markers or start identifying markers that you're going to be looking for when you are doing profiling sessions. We're going to go not super duper granular because we've already done that with cognitive functions. What we're going to be doing now is talking about the cognitive function stack. And that is, how does the deep dive we've done into cognitive functions, how does that impact each of the 16 personality types depending upon where it falls in their stack or the CAR model that we use? Now, before we enter that domain, we are going to do a bit of an overview, what we are specifically looking for as we hit each of these personality types. So this is going to be a really quick little session. It's just mostly setting you up for entering the domain or the space of these types and the kinds of things that you're going to be looking for. Now, as we go through each type, I want you to notice, number one, are they leading with a judging or a perceiving function? That's going to be really important. If they're leading with judging or perceiving, it's going to change how the type manifests. You're also going to be noticing how the cognitive function stack or the CAR model impacts their behavior. What's the difference between an ENTJ and an INTJ? Is there much of a difference? Are they both NTJ, so that makes them the same? Well, their cognitive function stack changes depending upon whether or not they're an introvert and extrovert, and I want you to be really looking for that, how their cognitive function stack impacts their behavior. I also want you to be looking for the firm orientation. Are they freedom? Are they invulnerability? Are they rightness? Or are they management? That's also going to alter how they interact with their cognitive functions. The dynamic between the processes or the functions changes depending upon what that inner motivation is. I want you to look for how the auxiliary function influences the dominant function. So there's going to be personality types that share the same dominant process, right, the same driver, but the co-pilot is different. So how does that change the orientation of the type? How does it change how it shows up? I want you to look for what is in the conscious part of the CAR and the unconscious part of the CAR. Remember, anything to the left of the CAR model is an unconscious process, either unconscious competence or unconscious incompetence. And everything on the right side of the CAR model is in the conscious field, conscious competence or conscious incompetence. So I want you to be looking for that. How does that alter their relationship with their personality? How does it change how they see themselves? And of course, one of the easiest things to do when personality profiling is to start out really mastering the behaviors of the dichotomies. So in the personality types, how are they manifesting the behaviors of introversion or extroversion? Remember, introverts hold something back and extroverts project. How are they showing up their sensing or intuitive preference? Which rung does the conversation naturally gravitate toward on the ladder of abstraction? So are they higher on the ladder of abstraction? Do they have a more conceptual, natural gravitation to their conversation? Or do they naturally gravitate to more concrete topics and go lower on the ladder of abstraction? And then they're thinking and feeling preference. Do they have sort of a flat voice, especially when they're making a point? Remember, for somebody like me who's a thinker, in a presentation like this, I've taught myself to have a more interesting tonality, a more interesting way of performing in order to make the content receive better. And yet when I'm making a point, my voice goes very flat. So those are the markers you're going to be looking for a thinker, versus a feeler who, no matter what their context is, tends to have a more fluid tonality in order to be pleasing to the audience, even if the audience is one person. So look for the dichotomy markers of the thinking and feeling. And then judging and perceiving. Do they have a more conservative demeanor? Are they honoring what society or hierarchy, how hierarchy believes that we should be behaving, like a judger would? Or are they more expressionistic? Do they have more of an anarchistic tone to them? Are they more about what they think they should be expressing as opposed to what society thinks they should be expressing? So we've already gone over all these. We don't have to belabor them too much, but just really keep in mind those markers and see how they show up in each of these different types. So I will be talking about each of these markers as we go through each type and pointing out how the 16 types evidence each piece of information. So let's go ahead and get started.